This is episode 17 with marketing expert Kendra McLelland.
You may know the destination, but do you know the path to take you there? This is Profits to Wealth. We shorten the time it takes for entrepreneurs to find true success through guided conversations alongside industry elites. We'll cover your commonly asked questions and dive into the skills, tactics, and lessons learned from business professionals who've turned the industry on its head through experience, critical thinking, as well as practical money management. It's time to talk business, money, and freedom with your host, Jack Marino Jr.
Simon Sinek said, "People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it." Welcome to Profits to Wealth. This is your host, Jack Marino Jr. Today on the show, I'll be interviewing Kendra McLelland, CEO of Blah Blah Media. After working as a consultant, managing a marketing department, and becoming the director of marketing for a private equity firm, Kendra McLelland channeled her passion of storytelling and helped create a company that cuts the blah. Kendra now serves as CEO of Blah Blah Media, a full-service marketing firm in Austin, Texas. Well, Kendra, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to talk about marketing today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks again for coming. So, two keys to success in business: marketing and innovation. We're going to talk today about marketing, which I'm excited about because that's how businesses get to grow, right? We market, we find new customers ideally, but not everyone is able to do that successfully. So I'm excited to have you in here to talk about some strategies that we can all use as business owners to grow our business.
Absolutely. I'm happy to talk about it.
Awesome. Well, let's get started. So you're the CEO of Blah Blah Media, which I love the name.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, how did you get into marketing? Why did you choose marketing?
Yeah, I've always, even from a child, just loved storytelling and had kind of a knack for aesthetics and design. And, just kind of was something I was always interested in. Even as a kid, I loved just like being a part of marketing and trying to do things, even like in high school and in college. And it was kind of after graduating that I decided that I really did have this passion for storytelling and creating relationships. And so marketing was kind of that vehicle of how I could create a relationship with someone, but also help them and hopefully impact their business through marketing. And so it's always just been super fun for me. And so to have something that I get to do every single day that's passionable for me means a lot.
Absolutely. You got to have passion in what you do. Otherwise, the flame burns out, So,
absolutely.
And with marketing, I like how you say storytelling, because really, as a business owner, you're really trying to tell a story about what you do and how you help people in a way that is well received from the consumer side. And I guess with marketing nowadays, everyone's clamoring for attention. And if they can't get your attention, they use a lot of times fear and panic as such with like coronavirus headlines and things like that. So I'm really interested to hear more about how your agency helps business owners, but I do love your passion for what you do. So what makes your agency, let's say, different? And specifically, let's talk about first, what do you do for a business owner? Let's say if you take on a new client, what is your agency, you and your agency and the team doing for that client?
Yeah, so Blah Blah Media is a full service marketing firm. And so what we really pride ourselves on is a term that we've kind of coined called cut the blah. What we want to do is cut the blah in your storytelling. And that's what we're really trying to come in and do and help businesses with, is tell the story that the customer needs to hear. A lot of times people are telling stories that they think are passionate, like they're passionate about, and it's their history and it's about them. But ultimately, for marketing to be effective, you need to tell the story that the customer needs to hear. And so that's what we want to do, is cut the blah, cut the boring stories, cut the long stories, and tell the customer exactly what they need to hear so that ultimately they do choose to work with your business. So we're full service. We do everything from helping you create your brand. We'll do your logo for you. We'll help you establish that story and kind of clarify that message. We can build your website. We do social media. We do public relations, really anything you need. We want to be that one-stop shop for you for your marketing needs.
Yeah, that is full service. So you do everything.
Yeah, it's awesome. We have a full team that's so talented. And so it's just great to be able to kind of be that one person that a business works with, instead of them having to create a ton of different relationships with different agencies. They can come to us and just have one relationship and we can take care of, whatever they need.
That makes sense, because I've worked with other marketing professionals before, and then you've got to coordinate that with a designer. So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of different aspects of marketing. And I do like that you and your firm sort of take all that upon yourself, right? And have
Mhm.
a solution internally so that everyone is talking the same language, is on the same page, and you have continuity within everything that you're doing in marketing,
Yep.
which is key, as we'll
Mhm.
probably find out today. So how do you differ from other agencies? Obviously, seems like everyone's doing marketing these
Mhm.
days. How do you differentiate yourself from the other agencies?
Yeah, so our competitive advantage is that we provide every single one of our clients a one-on-one consultant. We really believe that it's important to have a relationship with who you're working with. And so we want to provide that one-on-one consultant to really start from the very beginning with you and continue to grow your brand with you. Instead of having to work, like what I said earlier, a ton of different people, it's so much easier for one person to really understand your goals and your outcomes and be able to be that partner with you along the way. And then they go and talk to our internal team, the graphic designers, the content writers, the SEO specialists, all of those, and basically are your partner through marketing. And so a lot of other firms won't really do that. We pride ourselves in having relationships. And so that's what we want to provide with that one-on-one consultation is to have a relationship. Also something that differs with blah blah media is we are that full service. You'll see a lot of other firms that just specialize in social media or just specialize in ads or whatever it might be. But we want to, like I said earlier, provide that full service for you so that you
Hmm.
can ultimately focus on what you want to do. The reason that you started your business probably wasn't for marketing. So we want to be able to take on that burden for you and help your business so that you can focus on what's important to you.
Yes. And so what about, do y'all typically engage with the client in an hourly arrangement? How does that typically work? Because I know a lot of times consultants will be hired on an hourly basis. And, marketing isn't always cut and dry,
Mhm.
meaning you have an effort, right? You do some marketing. You don't necessarily always see instant returns. Not always. Sometimes you do. And I think that the structure of that compensation differs, right? Like I
Mhm.
said, a lot of times the consultants are paid hourly. So how do you guys work?
Yeah, so our method is that we want to provide consultation completely free. We feel like that is what really sets us apart is that we want to help you and consult you because we also care about your business. That's why we create that relationship is to really make it seem like it's a team effort. So anytime that there is a client interacting with one of our consultants, that's not charged. We do that completely for free because we want to show our efforts through what we're doing more internally. And so, whenever we create a proposal, it's all based on like what you're receiving. So you'll be your proposal is based on, how many social media graphics you get or how many press releases you get or how many pages on your website you want. But anytime a client wants to meet with our consultant, we thrive in that. We want to meet with our clients. And so it's definitely not like oh, it's 10:01, you owe me an extra hour's worth of work, just because that's not how a relationship should work.
So it's not based on hourly.
Correct.
It's based on, so there's a free consultation,
Mhm.
sounds like, at the beginning.
Mhm.
And then there's a proposal saying, hey, I think I heard what your needs are. Here's what we think that you need, the
Mhm.
solutions. And then you propose some sort of arrangement to where it's certain amount a month or,
Yeah, it's basically broken into like your campaign may cost X amount, and that gets you these things. But if you need to see your consultant every single day, we'll do that. Like that's something that comes with us providing that one-on-one consultation is that you get the flexibility to call us anytime you need because we ultimately do want this to be a relationship that serves the client and not one that they are afraid to call because they don't want to get charged an extra hour.
yes, I've had that issue before with other professionals. I love my attorney, but every time I have a
Yeah.
question, he charges in 15-minute increments. And
Yeah.
after a while, it's kind of like, the first time you touched a hot stove, you get burned. And the next
Mhm.
time you're a little shy to get around it.
Yep.
And so I like that structure, which is kind of how we work with our clients is it's fee based. It's not based on time. And I think there's a lot more comfort as a business owner to hire someone to work with them in that way because now you're not afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
And if you need to change gears or whatever, you can do that without feeling like you're just paying someone to be on the clock.
Absolutely.
So I love that. I love that aspect of it. So as I mentioned earlier, marketing is one of the keys to business success. And there's obviously a high rate of failure, about 95% plus or minus failure in the 10th year. So
Mhm.
most businesses don't even make it that far. And obviously today we're talking about marketing and we're going to talk about some things that you can do, 3 steps
Mhm.
to attract the clients that you want, your ideal clients. But before we talk about that, let's talk about mistakes because we all make them. So in marketing, from your perspective, what are some common mistakes you see business owners make from a marketing aspect?
Yeah, I feel like some mistakes, it's not something that's necessarily intentional. People think they're doing marketing, but a lot of times it turns out to be just marketing for marketing's sake. There's really no purpose behind anything that they're doing. And so they think, oh, I just need to be posting on social media all the time. But there's really no clear purpose in what they're doing. And so it actually makes some of their customers or potential clients unfollow them because they're getting annoyed because they're not really telling the right story. And so the main common mistake that we see is that people are just trying to tell almost too much of a story that doesn't matter. To them, it's super important, how they got started. If it was them and their dad back in the, in their hometown, starting this business from the ground up, like, yes, that's so important. And that is a story that needs to be told somewhere, but maybe not on the homepage of your website because no one really at the, when they first interact with you, they don't really care. And I hate to say that, but it's true, maybe eventually once they start to love your brand or become a raving fan of your brand, then they really care about the person behind the product. But at first they just are coming to this website to see, what can you do for me? How can you help me? How can you make my life better? And so a lot of times people are just telling the wrong story or telling too much of a story and people are getting tired and won't read it. And so then ultimately they exit out of the website or they kind of leave the conversation.
I love that. So I think we've all been guilty of that.
Mm-hmm.
We think that the website is a sales page and you're selling them on yourself. And you're right. You're talking about yourself, but no one cares about anyone but themselves. So
Right.
if I'm reading it, I'm like, yeah, that's great. But to your point, how can you help me?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone wants to be the hero, but really the hero is the customer.
Correct. Yep.
And you're just the guide helping them along.
Absolutely. You never want to make this all about you. You want to make it about your customer because ultimately that's why you're in business is to help something or to solve a problem or to make something better. But if you only make it about yourself, then probably no one's going to be interested in you.
Right. And if everyone's vying for attention, and let's say I land on your website and it's all about, to your point, hey, we started this business in 1963 with my
Mhm.
dad, blah, 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 blah. That's great.
Yep.
And it's cool.
Yep.
But I'm already flipped off your website in about 5 seconds because I don't
Exactly.
know what you do and how you can help me.
Yeah. And that's actually, I love that you're using the term blah, 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 because that's actually why we named our company Blah, Blah Media. The definition of blah means boring or without meaningful content. And so that's whenever we say cut the blah, that's the stuff we're trying to cut out is the stuff that doesn't really mean anything to your customer. We want to tell the story that's meaningful to them.
So I like that. And I do agree with you because after I picked up on that, I did notice that we were doing the same thing, telling our own story too much, really not focusing on how we help the client. So I agree with you. That's a huge mistake that we should all fix immediately.
Yep.
So what does your ideal client look like?
Yeah, I'd say an ideal client for us is someone who has that super meaningful story, that super meaningful thing they're trying to get across, but just doesn't really know how to do it. Maybe they're making that mistake that we talked about earlier of telling their history rather than their story. And so what we want to do is help those people, just coach them and consult them on how to tell that story, obviously through their marketing materials, but even like in person. It's so powerful whenever you can meet someone and ask them, hey, what do you do? And they can tell you clearly enough for you to be like, oh, I get it. And now I want that. And so we want to help people just clarify that message. So people who either have a great story and don't know how to tell it, or maybe they don't have the resources or the time to do it themselves. A lot of times you'll see in businesses, it's, the owner is running marketing, or maybe they have someone in the front office running marketing, but it's not someone who's actually dedicated to doing it in a purposeful way. They're just doing it to have a Facebook, or they're just doing it to have a website. And so what we want to do is focus our efforts on it so that it is impactful and it's not just something that's happening, every now and then.
Yes. And so is there a revenue like minimum, or can it be a startup? I mean, what parameters from
Yeah.
the size of a business?
Yeah, so we'll work with startups all the way to, these large companies. What we want to do is really tailor our services to help, whoever we can. We have someone that's just a one-person business that we're working with right now, and he's just kind of getting his boots run on the ground and trying to get the story out there. And then we work with some companies that have over 200 employees. And so really it's just us tailoring our efforts to the business and just kind of walking alongside them, aligning to what they need at that time and figuring out how we can tell that story in a better way.
Awesome. So we've talked about yourself, blah, blah, media, how you guys are different, the big mistake,
Mhm.
which is talking about ourselves too much.
Right.
So now let's get into what we can do.
Yeah.
All right. So you have a 3-step process that helps business owners attract their ideal client.
Correct.
Right. So I'd like to hear about those 3 steps, because I feel like if I use the analogy of fishing, a lot of times we're all fishing in this big blue ocean and we're trying to catch anything that we can or attract anything that we can. And really what we need to do is to narrow our focus and fish in a pond so that we kind of know, hey, what type of marketing to use to attract the client. So let's talk about your 3-step process.
Yeah. So the first step to attract your ideal customer would really begin with telling that story in the right way. So it's easy to talk about that, like, oh, yeah, tell it in the right way, but how do I actually do that? And so the first step is kind of implementing the right storytelling, which we think it's impactful to address the problem that the person is facing. What problem did you create your business for? Because obviously each business is created for something, to fix something for someone or to address a problem. So you want to make that really clear so that someone, whenever they interact with you and ask you what you do, you can talk about that, or it's on your website or it's on your social media. You want to make sure that person understands what problem you are addressing and make it clear to them. So then they're feeling like, oh yeah, I do have that problem. Wow, you're right. That is a problem that I have. And then the next step is to give them an idea of what your product is and how that fixes that problem. So super clearly, our company provides this that fixes that problem for you. So then it's automatically, you have a problem, but it's okay because we can help you fix it, or we can be the guide to get you to not having that problem anymore. And then ultimately, what are you going to experience after you fix that problem? You're going to feel less stress, or you're going to have more, revenue, or whatever that is. I have a problem. Here's how it gets fixed. And now I feel this way. So that would be the first step, is just telling your story in the right way, telling your story to what the customer needs to hear. So ultimately, those 3 things, that's what a customer needs to hear. They don't need to hear that your company started 20 years ago.
I see. So I've also been guilty of that. So for example, how many times you're at a cocktail party, a dinner, and someone says, what do you do? And my answer was wealth advisor or something like that, to that effect. I mean, we have financial advisor, private wealth advisor, a lot of different names, right? And I could see sometimes the expression on their face was they didn't understand what that was, or they had an idea, but they didn't know exactly. So what, do you trade stocks? I mean, what does that mean? But when I say, I help entrepreneurs make the complex simple and help them achieve financial independence, giving them peace of mind.
Yes.
That may not be the perfect explanation, but I think it hits on the high points.
Absolutely.
Shows who I help, entrepreneurs, and you grade me because I'm asking now. I help entrepreneurs. I'm helping them make complex, because finances can be complex. We're making them simple, and we're helping them do what? Achieve financial independence, which gives them peace of mind.
Exactly. I think you have a great story to tell, and something, whenever you hear that, then you're either thinking, oh, I'm an entrepreneur and I do have complex problems with finances. And yes, I would love to have peace of mind. Please help me. So that is a way, just through a cocktail party, you could potentially get a new client because they actually understand what you do, as opposed to, I'm a wealth advisor. And, for someone who isn't in that industry, they might be thinking, oh, that's awesome. But if they understand what you do, either it can help them, or maybe they have a friend or a family member that could use you. And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, my dad actually is looking for someone to help him with his complex problems. Can you help him? So it helps you better explain what you do so others can actually take part in your story too.
Again, I think we make things very complicated when they don't have to be. I think it just sounds, it's kind of an ego thing. Maybe sometimes it just sounds like you're really important, and you would expect, I always thought that if someone didn't know what that meant, they would ask. But I had someone the other day tell me, I said, what business are you in? And they said, the education business. And I said, are you a teacher? And they're like, no, I make and publish journals. And I didn't get the connection. And I was just honest with the person. I said, I think you need to change the message you're saying.
Yeah. And that's the hard part, is some people are embarrassed to ask, or some people, think, oh, I don't want them to think I don't know what they do, so I'm not going to say anything. But it's people who will ask you. That's how you kind of realize, like, gosh, I need to learn how to tell a better story,
Yeah. So the value proposition needs to be very clear: who you help, what their problem is, and then ideally what the outcome is if you guys work together.
Yep. A simple way to remember is just like the problem, the product, and the experience that they receive after using you.
I love that. Okay, so that's number one.
Yep.
Number two.
Number two, I think, would be to really align your brand. So what's really hard for some companies is, they'll have maybe a great interaction with someone in person, and then they say, hey, yeah, go check us out on our website. And they go to their website and it either doesn't tell the same story, or it's not really matching that experience that they had with that person in person. So it really makes it hard to trust someone whenever you have like a great one-on-one interaction in person, maybe at a networking event or a trade show or something like that. And you're totally bought in. You're like, yes, I love this. I love this product. I'm ready. And then you go to the website and it's not at all the same experience. You start to think, oh gosh, like, can I be confident in this? Can I trust this? So what you really want to do is align your entire brand to that same story. So first is you clarify your story. Second is you want to make sure that that story is on all of your platforms and aligned, because the worst thing to do is, to have a different story told on your business cards and then a different story on your website and then an in-person story that's completely different, because there's no cohesion at all. And it makes it really hard for your customers to trust you.
Yeah, I hear a lot about that brand alignment. And again, I had an idea what that was, but now I think I understand. And I think if we went to our website now, you guys haven't fixed that for us yet, but there is some inconsistencies there. If you go to the website, a lot of times we've complicated things with the language that we've used there. And again, if our message is making the complex simple, that doesn't flow well if you go to our website. So I think that's huge, making sure there's continuity between every different aspect of your marketing, whether, like you said, it was the business card, it was the website, maybe you have some print collateral or email, digital collateral or something. Maybe it's your footer on your email. I love that. So you guys are going to go through and brand everything and make sure that, number one, that it doesn't need to be rebrand. And if it does, you guys are going to redo that, designs, logos, all that, and then make sure that every bit of marketing is all cohesive.
Absolutely. And it's all about that story. So does your logo tell the same story as what you're trying to get across? Because sometimes you'll see a super fun, energetic type company, maybe it's a coffee shop or something like that, with a super sterile, boring, almost like just a blah type logo. And it's like, okay, yeah, coffee, I want this. But then you go to the website and you feel like you're, in a different experience. It's like, oh, well, I don't really want to drink that kind of coffee. So that can be on any type of platform of, you want to make sure that your social media is telling the same story. You want to make sure even that your branded attire is telling the right story. If you're in a super professional industry and you're wearing branded, I don't know, workout t-shirts, that probably isn't the same type of story you want to get across. And so just looking at every single thing that you're doing and branding it and aligning it to that brand and that story, because it is really important. You don't want to work really hard to tell your story in an effective way and then not tell it on all your platforms.
That's huge. What's number three?
So number three would be to have purpose behind every single thing that you do. I am a victim of this. Early in my marketing, I was kind of just doing marketing for the sake of marketing. There wasn't really any type of clear purpose. And it was after seeing that it didn't work, I was like, oh, well, I guess it's probably because I didn't have any purpose behind it. How can I expect something to work effectively if there's no strategy behind it or no purpose behind it? And so really ensuring that and you have the time to look at what's the purpose of this marketing collateral? What's the purpose of this business card? Am I trying to get someone to contact me? Well, I want to make sure that my phone number's on there. I want to make sure that my website's on there and it's clear and that they know that the call to action is to go to my website or is to call me. Your website should be built on driving revenue. So if there's not a call to action on your website, well, then there's really no point in a website, And so it's really taking the time to ask yourself, okay, what am I trying to accomplish with this marketing effort? What is the purpose behind it? And then if your efforts aren't matching that purpose, don't do it. Don't waste your time trying to make things look pretty or making things seem, extravagant if there's no purpose behind it, because ultimately it's not going to work.
Reasons come first, answers come second. Tony Robbins taught us that in Business Mastery, which is so true, which is what you're talking about. What's the purpose behind this?
Exactly.
Right. What are you trying to do? If you just have all this information out there, and there's no way for that, let's say I'm reading your website and there's no way for me to, how do I contact you? I'm sold. I'm ready to go.
Yep.
but I don't have a contact information. I don't have anything like an information, like a form to fill out
Right.
there. That's so true. That's so good. So let me ask you this question. Are all three of the, because this isn't complicated,
Right.
right? It's not always simple or easy to do, but we're not making this complicated. Do you think that these three things here, which I think are extremely valuable, are even important for a startup?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we are kind of in a startup season ourselves. Blah Blah Media actually started as a marketing department for a private equity firm. And then one day we realized, hey, what we're doing can really help people. Let's try to open this out to the outside world and have some outside clients. So technically, even though it's kind of a weird scenario, Blah Blah Media is even kind of a startup in its business formation. And so I think those things are so important in a business. If you don't have a purpose that you're trying to fulfill, why are you spinning your wheels? You need to dig in and see, what am I trying to accomplish with my marketing, with my business, with my relationships? I think a lot of these things can go even into your personal and your business relationships.
Awesome. So, number one, I'll do a little recap. One was just clarifying your message, your story. What is it you do? And then what is it that you really do?
Right.
And make sure that, test it on some people that don't know your business and see if they understand what you do and they get it. Number two is align your brand. Make sure that all of your collateral, all your messaging, all your website information is all flowing together and cohesive with the same story and the same message. And then the last thing, which is really important, is have a purpose behind everything that you do.
Absolutely.
How'd I do?
I think you did great. You get an A+.
All right. All right. So for those listeners out there that want to contact Kendra and Blah Blah Media, what is the best way?
Yeah, the best way for us would be to go straight to our website, www.blahblah.media. It's a little different than your normal .com, so make sure you're going blahblah.media.
Okay, we'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah, but on there you can kind of see how we build our website, and maybe it can help you, figure out how you can better your website. But on there, you'll see a clear button that says contact us. And we want you guys, if you're needing help telling your story, to contact us, and we'll have one of our consultants contact you for that one-on-one consultation and see, what are you needing in your marketing? What are you wanting to do with your business? And how can we align to you to get your business to grow?
Yeah. So for any entrepreneurs out there that are listening, business owners that want to, get a consultation, which I highly recommend, just, get a free consultation. Let Kendra and her team listen to what you're trying to do, your story, if you will, see what changes need to be made and see what your goals are, why you're doing it, and let them help you align your brand and get your story right and have success in business and grow. Because again, two keys to success in business long-term, you have to be good at marketing, which it's not always easy. You got to find things that work, because not everything, let's say I necessarily may not have the same outcome as you would if I did Facebook ads. So every business is different. So have her and her team put together a tailored plan for you to help you grow your business. So let's go into rapid fire. This is always fun for me because I get to learn more about you.
Yeah.
So first question, what do you do to keep your edge?
Yeah, I think to keep my edge, I go to a lot of networking events just to kind of see what other people are doing. I believe in always being a learner. You can never be perfect at something. And so looking to see, what are other people doing? How are things working for them, or how are things not working for them? And leverage those relationships to ultimately, help you do things better. But I also have a mentor in my life, Chris Maroff. I know that you actually know Chris from a past podcast, but he has a lot of experience in marketing and just business. And so spending time with him, asking questions, and just allowing myself to be a learner in this process, because things are always changing, and, you learn through experiences and through failures. And so kind of leaning on people who have those experiences to share with you, but also to have someone kind of in your corner when you also have those failures is so important, because that's kind of how you keep moving on and how you learn from what you're doing or learn from others of what worked well.
Right. We don't have to learn this all on our own. We can, but the learning curve is so much steeper. The time is so much longer to success. It's kind of, I'd say, stupid.
Yeah.
Right. It's really dumb to go into anything without reading, right? Because, or consulting, or having a mentor, because you have people that have been here, done this, look throughout history and read or get a mentor. They can really shorten the time it takes to get to success, because they can tell you, hey, I've been here. You don't want to make this decision. This is what you want to do.
Yep.
And it can change the outcome of your business or your life drastically. So I like that.
Absolutely.
Next question. So far, who has been the most impactful on your life?
Yeah, I'd say the person who's had the most impact on me is my mom. She's always just been someone who I've looked up to, super hardworking person who really believes in like life is too short to do something that you don't love. And so find something that you're passionate about, find something that you want to go spend your time in. And she's just done that so well over the years. And so it's cool, as a kid, I would look up to my mom and just saw this like really awesome person. And I was like, gosh, that's a woman I want to look like and I want to be like, and I want to work like her and have relationships like her. But now she and I, are more like, obviously the mother-daughter relationship, but we're also friends. And so to have someone who I have that relationship with that's so long lasting, but I can also see as a friend and I can talk about things with is so important. And so I just love looking up to her and hoping that, at some point I can have an impact on someone like she has that on me.
That's beautiful. So you're carrying that passion, that fire in your belly like your mom.
Yep.
That's great. So if you could recommend one book, a resource, a class, whatever it might be, what is it?
Yeah, I recently just read The One Thing by Gary Keller and Papasan, and it was amazing. It's like I'm a raving fan of The One Thing. And
That's good.
Yeah, it's all about, choosing the one thing you want to focus your time on, because you're not going to do anything well if you're spending your time on a million things. Instead, focus on the one thing, the one priority that's the most important, and put your effort there, because you'll have extraordinary results when you do that instead of spreading yourself so thin. And what I love about it is I can very clearly implement that at work, but I'm also implementing it in my relationships. And so I would 100% recommend that book to anyone who's struggling with kind of feeling a little strung out or a little overwhelmed because you're trying to do it all. Quit trying to do it all and, focus on the one thing.
I love that book as well. It reminds me of what Tony Robbins calls in his RPM, rapid results. Just went blank. But anyway, he talks about the to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a to-do list. And you become a slave to the to-do list. But a lot of times that to-do list basically has you heading east looking for a sunset.
Yep.
It doesn't work. It doesn't matter
Right.
how many things you get checked off. You're never going to see the sunset. You're going the wrong way.
Yep.
So instead, you want to look at what the results, which
Mhm.
is kind of the same thing as
Yes.
the one thing. What is the one thing? What's the outcome? And then what are the results you want? So what then would the action items be that line up under that?
Yes.
And that gives you more clarity and direction to make
Yeah.
sure that you're going the right way and not
Yeah.
just being an automaton, basically checking off things and not really accomplishing anything. But
Mhm.
that's a lot of times what we do.
Yeah, I love the clear visual it even paints for you in the picture of the domino effect. So the very last domino in the string of dominoes is your end result. But what are you going to do to knock down that first domino? What's the very first step you can take? Because that's when I think people get overwhelmed, is they're so busy thinking about like, oh, I want this very long-term goal, but they don't know where to start. And so I love that this book kind of paints that really pretty picture for you of like, it's just the next thing. Just focus on the next most important thing that's going to get you to where you want to go instead of, trying to do all of the things.
So the one thing, the rapid planning method by Tony Robbins, those are both great. So what does financial freedom mean to you? That's what we're about here, Profits to Wealth, Lake Hills Wealth Management. We're helping entrepreneurs, like I said earlier, achieve financial independence so that they have that peace of mind. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think financial freedom to me means allowing myself to have the finances to do not just the essentials, but really what's important to me. Whenever you pursue profit, whether it is in finances or time or effort, whenever you have that profitable margin, you're able to be more generous with what's left. And so financial freedom would be, not just covering the essentials, but being able to be more generous or to give back more because, ultimately that's, how you love and serve others. And so thinking through how does financial freedom allow you to be more generous.
That's great. So Jesse Itzler talks about the ramifications of today, tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
meaning anytime you make a decision, you're going to say, how would I feel about this tomorrow? So for example, an easy example would be, let's say if we're going to go to happy hour, and is it going to be happy hour or happy 6 hours?
Mm-hmm.
And the outcome of that is going to be, or the price is tomorrow. It's not necessarily today. I'm going to have a lot of fun today, but it's about tomorrow. And it's the same thing in finances, right? We all want freedom, but to have freedom, you have to have discipline. And there's a trade-off every day. And so again, it goes to that kind of that one thing is like, what are the results I want? And what are the things that I need to do? What are the action items I need to do to achieve financial freedom.
Yeah.
I love your answer on that. So, in that, I want to go into a legacy question. How does Kendra want to be remembered? Because at the end of the day, we only get one ride, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think about this question, it's powerful, and I want to know your answer. And one day I was reading a book. I can't remember which one it was, but it was like staring at in the mirror, fast forward, and you're 80 years old. It really got me thinking, like, what did I do here to make an impact? So that's why I incorporated the question in my rapid fire, because I'm always curious to see what does everyone want to be remembered by? So what is your answer?
Yeah. At the end of my life, I want to be remembered as like an authentic, genuine relationship that someone had with me. I want to be known as like a good listener. I think that is the biggest thing. So many people don't really have people who can listen to them and don't really have those close relationships. And so at the end of my years, I want to be known as that like genuine friend, that person that was always authentic and always was there to serve someone by listening or just being a person that's in their corner.
Listening, we all probably should improve on that skill, because we only want to hear our self-talk. And obviously, we're all guilty of it, including myself. And I think that's one habit that we need to really work on breaking, is really paying attention to active listening to other people. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll ask one last thing from you. So as we end here today, I always want to, as you understand, shorten the learning curve it takes to achieve true success in business and life. So I'm looking for advice and tips, right?
Yeah.
So what's one parting tip or advice you would give entrepreneurs from a marketing standpoint?
Yeah, the very first thing I would do is go find a mentor or go find a coach, because doing these things alone is going to isolate you and make you feel lonely. And when things don't work, you're going to get frustrated. And so having someone that can coach you through that or mentor you through that, that can push you both professionally and personally so that you do experience some type of transformation at the end, I think is so important. And to know that you don't have to do it by yourself. There's people that want to help. And so go out and find a mentor, whether it's someone that you hire, or maybe it's someone in your life that you just look up to. Go find a mentor and don't do this by yourself.
That's really good advice, because as an entrepreneur, I know that I've talked about this a lot with my clients, because I did realize that this is a lonely proposition, meaning that your friends or even your family, if they don't have that entrepreneurial spirit, when you go and talk to them about it, you being a business owner, the challenges or the opportunities, they really don't understand it. I think they really see it as, well, you have all this flexibility and you get to do whatever you want to do. They really are only seeing the tip of the iceberg a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
meaning they only see what they want to see. They don't really see all of the stress and the worry and the hard work and the 7 days a week that you put into your business. They really only see the outcome.
Yeah.
And I think that we all need that community, which is, of other entrepreneurs, which is
Right.
why I felt like I needed to step up and start Profits to Wealth, whether that's a mastermind or whether it's just this podcast, because being around other people that are doing what you're trying to do and leaning on them is critical, because we're all going to have times of, I guess, in the valley, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not always peaks. It's not always in the valley. It's a lot of times in between, but there's a lot of low times in business. And you have to really get good at meeting other people and having a good community around you that can help you look for opportunities in the valley and look for blind spots in the peaks.
Absolutely. I think, having mentors, having community, because like you said, this is a lonely place. And whenever you're doing it alone, there's no one to be there with you when things go bad, but there's also no one to celebrate you when you have wins. And that's so important, is to have someone there that is like just as excited as you are when things go well. Otherwise, you're doing it alone, and then that's not fulfilling. And so finding those people that can be there through the good and the bad for you is so important. Otherwise, you're going to burn out and you're not going to, reach what you want to.
Right, because that passion of others rubs off, and it just fuels your passion and fire and can pull you out of any pit that you're in,
Mm-hmm.
So you get it, having a good mentor or surrounding yourself with the right people can make a big impact in your life and your business. So
Absolutely.
thank you for that. That's all good wisdom and advice today. Thank you so much, Kendra, for your time. I really appreciate it. This is valuable information that everybody could use. So again, listeners, you need help with any of your marketing, please give Kendra and Blah Blah Media a call.
Thank you so much. It's been a great day hanging out with you, and I'm excited for today. So thank you.
Thank you again. Take care.
Bye.
That's all for this episode of Profits to Wealth. But we have more resources available to you on our website. Head over to profitstowealth.com and take our questionnaire to find out how we can provide you with a tailored approach to your entrepreneurial journey. It's available exclusively on profitstowealth.com. Until next time, we look forward to talking business, money, and freedom right here on Profits